Welcome to episode number 301 of the Marine Layer podcast. The Mariners close out the regular season at home, getting swept by the Dodgers. We'll wrap up the regular season, look ahead to the set playoff field, and a whole lot more.
Before we start this show, a reminder to you guys, if you want to stay on top of everything we're doing, you can do so by going right over to our website at marinelayerpod.com, where you can find our episodes, merch, Patreon, live shows. It's all over there. And then check us out across social media as well at Marine Layer Pod.
Let's get it rolling.
The pitch from Acevedo. A drive deep to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. 1-1 from Jansen. There you go. Left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio. Oh, baby, what a moment. Tie ball game at 7-7.
And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network, recording here on Sunday evening, September 28th. And I just want to address this off the start, Lyle. The question is, should you be worried that the Mariners got swept at home by the Dodgers to finish the regular season? The answer is...
Yep. No, you should not be concerned. You should not be concerned. Believe it or not, those are real questions that we got asked this weekend. Guys, should we be concerned? I know this series doesn't matter, but is it time to panic? No, it's not time to panic. Honestly, look, I wish the Mariners had won a game in that series. Doesn't really matter in the end. But at the same time, maybe a couple losses is honestly for the best. Did you, again, they've won, 17 of 18? Doesn't that feel like losses when you win that much are almost inevitable? Now you cancel them out now in the regular season.
Also, for the first, let's do math here, 159 games of the season, the Mariners had not clinched a playoff spot, and their sole objective on, I would assume, every single night was to try and win a baseball game. But that was not the case for the final 3 days of the regular season. They had already clinched a playoff spot at this point, therefore you don't have to win any more games. And you would put structuring your roster and resting your players over winning baseball games. Like Josh Naylor, not playing today, didn't play Saturday, right? Didn't also play Saturday.
No, I don't think he played Saturday or Sunday, which is for the best.
Because he needs to rest. The best version of the Mariners trying to win games is Josh Naylor in there. And I'm sure they needed to win the game, he would have played. But
And again, just for context, I'm sure most people remember, but for context, he came out of Friday's game because he had a little bit of discomfort, and they did what was precautionary. They said, you know what? You know when we need Josh Naylor? In the postseason. So let's just let him rest the next 2 days. He'll rest the next few days. There is no reason to risk anything when not only have we already clinched a playoff spot, not only have we already clinched the division, but we've clinched our seeding too. We cannot move. They were the 2 seed no matter what. So guys,
he needed to get his 30th bag first, though.
Well, he did that.
Mm-hmm.
And Julio didn't play much this weekend either. He played Friday. Sunday he didn't play. Saturday, I don't think he played, if I'm remembering right. If you want to double check in the box score. Oh, no, sorry, he played Saturday. But he didn't play Sunday, and that was because, again, they didn't need to play.
The only regular who never got swapped out the entire series was Cal, because the Mariners did exactly what we told them to do and give him as many at-bats as possible. Now, unfortunately, Cal did not homer against the Dodgers this weekend, and his 2025 home run total is going to end at 60, which honestly, Lyle, I'm gonna stamp right now as a disappointment. He needed 61.
Yeah, no MVP. That's it.
No, we're yanking it away from him. You're telling me you have 4 games to finish the season and you don't hit any more homers?
I mean, unacceptable, really.
And that's mostly because this weekend was fucking unbearable watching Yankee fans. Like, the Talkin' Baseball account this weekend was unbearable. It was awful. Instead of following the Yankees, Talkin' Baseball is the podcast that John Boy Media does about the Yankees. And the sole objective of that account...
Hang on. Talkin' Baseball is the national pod. Talkin' Yanks is the Yankees podcast.
Talkin' Yanks was the account that was badgering Cal this weekend. Instead of actually following the Yankee games, they were instead picking all of Cal Raleigh's at-bats where he did not reach base and tweeting them out.
Oh, wait, that's what you mean. No, the Talkin' Baseball account actually did that, which was ridiculous. Now, it's all under the same umbrella and the same company. But the Talkin' Yanks account takes it upon themselves to quote tweet a lineup in which the Mariners have already clinched their division, they've already clinched their playoff spot, they're not playing for anything, that has Cal Raleigh, not catching 9 innings and DHing, saying, Cal's DHing for the 37th time this year. Dude, he's caught the 4th most games in baseball. Get the fuck out of here with that.
And Aaron Judge, guess what? Has more DH days.
He's DH'd 56 times, I believe, this year, Aaron Judge. If he DH'd here on Sunday, it'd be 57.
The Mariners don't have the luxury of having national company propaganda accounts for him. So that's what we're going to do, Lyle. We're going to be Cal Raleigh's propaganda artists and say that, you know what? Doesn't matter. Cal's got 60 home runs. He's the MVP.
Judge played right field on Sunday. So, again, I believe it was 56 DH days for
intentionally.
the year.
Intentionally, so the Talking Baseball account could note. It's like, oh, look at Aaron Judge playing in the final game of the season.
Dude, if Cal wins the MVP, I am going to dunk so hard on Yankee fans. It's going to be a parade.
Hey, question at Talking Yanks. Did the Yankees win the division?
No?
Oh,
Oh, but you were focused on the little old Pacific Northwest featuring a catcher by the name of the Big Dumper who's competing with your precious Aaron Judge. You can't get a fucking hit in the postseason.
Would you prefer that the Mariners and Yankees battle it out in the postseason, or would you rather Judge just get bounced early?
Dude, if there's not really a bad scenario to this, right? Because both result in us just having a field day. If the Yankees lose in the wild card series, and especially if in that wild card series Judge doesn't show up, the narratives are going to be hilarious. Yes, the MVP is a regular season award. The postseason stuff doesn't count. It's still going to be a hilarious narrative to dunk on. But if the Mariners were to beat the Yankees in the ALCS to go to the World Series, and Cal were to be the ALCS MVP leading the Mariners charge, I mean, it would be... Mariners Twitter would be as close to... I mean, I don't even know what you want to call it. It'd be as close to straight up Jon Snow battling in the Battle of the Bastards as you can get, as when he pulls out the sword and is fighting against all of the... I forget who he was fighting against.
He was facing, what's his name? Ramses.
Yeah,
soldiers.
Ramses soldiers, right. I mean, it's not the White Walkers, but that's what it would be if Aaron Judge didn't show up in the ALCS and Cal Raleigh goes off and the Mariners take down the Yankees. Come on, that'd be hilarious. Yankees fans would be so mad.
I think it would be better if he just lost in the wild card series. Because then it'd be like, oh, can't hear you. Where are you at? Where are you? Oh, not playing. And because since there's only 3 games in the wild card series, if they lose in the wild card series, there's not enough time for him to do really anything.
No.
Right? He's going to get 6 at-bats if they get swept.
And if he goes 1 for 7 with a single, 1 for 8 with a single, that'd be hilarious.
It's a perfect dunking point. And then the Marine Layer podcast propaganda machine is going to be rolling.
Oh, yes. Also, while we might not have the backing of a media company to be just absolutely trying to tear down Aaron Judge, which is what the people over at Talkin' Yanks have been doing, trying to tear down Cal Raleigh rather than just making the case for their own guy. You know who I'd like to give a shout out to on Twitter, and I hope his team just throttles the Yankees in this wild card series. Shout out Cutter is King on Twitter. That guy has been the biggest Cal Raleigh advocate over the last 2 months that you can basically find across baseball Twitter. Dude has been absolutely trying to tear down Judge's name nonstop.
If you're going to make a prediction, who's going to mock Aaron Judge more if he strikes out? The Marine Layer pod account or Jared Carabas, friend of the pod?
Or third option, Cutter is King.
Or Cutter. Yeah. Because here's what I predict we're going to do, and this is straight out of Jared's book. Aaron Judge strikes out in the first inning of Game 1 of that wild card series. All caps tweet. Aaron Judge crushes go-ahead home run in the first inning to put the Yankees up 1-0.
We're doing that. I hope somebody pulls the footage of those Aaron Judge strikeouts so we can tweet it out on Twitter. We're absolutely doing that. And I will say that is a bit of a hat tip to Carabas, who's the one on baseball Twitter who started that trend, which I don't know how nobody thought of it before.
Which he's still going to do it, I think.
Oh, yeah. Which I don't know how nobody had ever thought of that trend before he really got going with it a couple years ago, but it's hilarious. He'd do things like, if you want to use current events, Anthony Volpe with a slick double play to get the Yankees out of the inning, and it's Volpe just making an egregious error as 2 runs come in for the Red Sox. I don't know how nobody's thought about that or thought of doing stuff like that till now, but now you see it more happen. And if Judge starts striking out in the postseason, we're doing that. Aaron Judge to the moon, crown him right now. Like, yeah.
We'll talk more about the bracket here in a little bit, but before we get to that, let's sort of put a bow tie on everything else we saw this weekend and some of the news that has come out of it. To end with the thought on Cal, he was definitely pressing this weekend. I think his sole goal was to get to 63 home runs.
Yeah, he was pressing. And that's not a knock on Cal. Like, these games didn't matter. He was DHing. He wanted to chase history. Who can blame him? But if you're watching some of the at-bats, like, yeah.
He's swinging at pitches up at his eyes.
Yeah, like he's chasing way out of the zone. I'm not saying Cal doesn't strike out because that is part of his game. But, I mean, he was really going after some breaking balls in the dirt. And like you said, he's chasing extremely elevated fastballs way out of the zone. He was basically just swinging as hard as he could at most pitches to try and launch him, which I don't blame him.
He's not really up there to walk. He knew there was only like 5 at-bats left in the season for him. He's like, I'm running out of opportunities to get all the way up to 63, so I got to do my best. Unfortunately, I guess fortunately for him, 60 is still a pretty great number. As we talked about on our last podcast episode, him, Maris, Ruth, Barry Bonds, McGuire, Sosa,
and Judge.
That's it. So that's pretty. That ends it pretty cool. But I did get a chuckle trying to watch Cal this weekend. It's like he's going to start in every game. They're going to hit him at the top of the lineup. He's not getting a day off because he needs to get this record. And he also knew, I have to get this record. Like, this is mine. But he unfortunately didn't get there.
No. It's too bad he didn't hit another 2 home runs on the final day of the Rockies series when you were facing a guy that gives up home runs left and right, because that would have really moved some
Well, if he was in Yankee Stadium, he would have hit one.
I know. Well, it's almost like that's a McDonald's ball pit in the Bronx. What's that AI thing of Cal Raleigh? Isn't that what he says? You've seen that.
Maybe, but it's not fresh off my mind.
Well, it has like 1 million views on Instagram. There's this sports AI generator account on Instagram that does all these athletes dubbing, saying all these ridiculous things that they didn't say. And they've done a few of Cal now, but the first one was him talking about, like, my name's Cal Raleigh. They call me the big dumper because I dump bombs. He's like, I play in a real ballpark. Unlike that, I think the exact words were like, what do they call him? They call him like a mouth breather. Unlike that mouth breather, Aaron Judge, who essentially plays in a McDonald's ball pit in the Bronx. There's a bunch of other stuff that gets said in there too, but you can go listen for yourself.
I'll have to brush up after this podcast. Yeah. It'd be good verbiage to know heading into a very important week.
Yeah. If anybody else is curious about this video I'm talking about, this AI thing in Cal Raleigh, it's not hard to find. Like, yeah. He says some other things in there too. Now, I will say it was early in the year when the storylines were a little bit different, but yeah. And if it needs to be said, no, Cal did not actually say those things. It is AI, but very funny.
Anything else to take away from this weekend?
Yeah, shout out Logan Evans. He went out and threw 3 good innings on Saturday. He's back. He was on the mound.
Great to have him back.
He gave up.
We missed him.
Well, of course we missed him. But he gave up a single that had an 0.20 expected batting average on it, and had that not happened, he would have gone 6 up, 6 down in the first 2 innings against the Dodgers. Ultimately goes 3 innings, only gives up a run. He looked good. I don't know if he's going to pitch in the postseason. I hope he does. You hope he does. If it's up to us, we're putting him on our roster. But the Mariners themselves, I'm sure they'll keep him around for October in case somebody's needed, but we'll see if he ends up making the postseason roster or not. That was my only other takeaway. Was excited to see him back.
We were having this debate. He'll be on the taxi squad, I think. He's going to be the first pitcher activated if they need an arm, I would imagine. But if you want Logan Evans on the playoff roster, right now you have, in order, if you're to think about this, you have your regular bullpen. You're going to have the addition of Bryce Miller in there. You're going to have Emerson Hancock in there for your bullpen. That right there is 2 long relievers. In the playoffs, it's usually like all silos go. The third long relief option out of the Mariners bullpen will be whichever starter they have that's currently on a bullpen day will throw instead. like the Mariners did with Robbie Ray and George Kirby in the 2022 playoff run. Whether or not it actually works out, as you know, TBD. That would leave Logan, unfortunately, fourth when it comes to long relief innings out of the Mariners bullpen. So at this point, unless someone gets hurt, I don't see it. But if he does make it, I'd be hyped for him. That'd be super exciting. I think the bigger question comes down to whether or not, out of this week, whether or not the Mariners are going to carry 3 catchers or not in the playoffs. I think that was it. Because Jerry spoke here on Sunday and was talking about, gave some updates on Brian Wu, who we'll talk about here in a second, but it was also talking about the playoff roster and said they have been very heavily considering carrying 3 catchers like they have in September. I see it a little bit, at least for the DS.
Harry Ford just hasn't played a lot. They've only let him start 1 game as a catcher.
It's not even about him playing, though. This September, when I was talking about it, when we were bitching up a storm early in the month, was, well, he should be here developing. But in the playoffs, it's for the most versatility possible for your roster. Now, what you can do in the division series or in the playoffs, you can carry 13 pitchers max, but there's not a minimum amount of pitchers that you can carry. Especially in a 5-game series, you could leave one of your bullpen arms off the playoff roster and put Harry Ford on it, so you could carry 14 position players and 12 pitchers. Especially when you have 2 long relievers in that bullpen in Bryce Miller and Emerson Hancock. Right? So then when you face a said lefty, Tarek Skubal, in the postseason, in the ALDS, you can put together your best possible lineup facing a lefty, which does include Mitch Garver DHing. And you, as soon as the Tigers put a righty in out of the pen, you can take Mitch Garver out of the lineup right away. It does provide you the most versatility with your lineup at a given time.
I still would scratch my head at carrying 3 catchers because you're expecting Cal Raleigh to catch every inning of the postseason. And guess what? If he gets hurt, heaven forbid, I don't think that's going to happen, but heaven forbid there's an injury, you get a replacement on the roster. If somebody gets injured, you get to bring somebody up.
Not in game.
What's that?
Not in game. And by the way, if you take Cal Raleigh off the roster and replace him with somebody, you can't put him back on the roster until the next series.
Right. But if it's just in the scenario that they really need a catcher due to an injury, you can bring somebody up. I think 3 catchers for a guy in Harry Ford that can only catch and has 1 big league hit and has only had about 10 big league plate appearances feels like a little bit of overkill to me. I would rather see them put a few different utility guys on the field that can run and can play some defense. I think that's why we saw Miles Mastrobuoni come back on Sunday. You can't know for sure till the roster gets set, but that feels like to me that they may plan to have him activated in the postseason to do exactly that.
You can have all the utility players you want on your roster and have a 3rd catcher if you just... So here's what you would do. Cole Young would not be on the roster. Samad Taylor would come up. Then you get Leo, Mastro, and Samad Taylor all on your bench. Alongside Harry as the 3rd catcher, you just send Cole and one of your bullpen arms that you don't use down, or you take them off the roster.
Oh, so for Cole Young to not be on the roster, you would see Samad Taylor get called up. In other words, if you take the 3 catchers, you would still hypothetically keep Cole Young in this scenario?
No, I would not. I'd keep him off the roster and then put Samad Taylor on instead.
But we haven't seen Samad Taylor, so we don't know if that's going to happen.
We haven't, but he doesn't need. They don't need to see him. He's been on the 40-man roster this year, so they can put him on the playoff roster.
Mm-hmm.
As we've talked about, what would Cole do in the playoffs?
I mean, he still can give you a good at bat.
The Mariners haven't thought so. He hasn't played when the games have mattered.
I just figured they're having him work on stuff, but
if he's going to work on stuff, great. Again, not on the playoff roster.
So I guess we'll see.
If you said you wanted the most versatility possible, that right there is the most versatility. You don't get to have both. The versatility would allow you to pinch hit as much as possible, have the most speed on your roster, the most utility players on your roster, and still have a deep enough pitching staff and have the ability to pinch hit.
I don't know. I guess I still like what Cole Young brings, even if he hasn't played that much, because you've seen Jorge Polanco play more second as he's gotten hot, and you've seen Leo Rivas play a little bit more. But I don't know, that's a guy that draws his walks. He doesn't strike out a bunch. He can play some quality second base defense. He might not play a lot, but I don't hate the idea of him being on the roster. I understand there's a world he won't be, especially since he hasn't played a ton, and that seems to be the guy that would be on the chopping block this year because they haven't used him a ton. I don't hate the idea of him on the roster, though.
I just don't know what he would do. In September, he has an OPS of 0.95.
Well, he's had, 15 at-bats?
He's had 21 plate appearances. And then if you go back to August, it is 92. At this point, if we're going for versatility, and given the fact the Mariners are probably just going to try and roll with their starting nine as much as humanly possible, sans Garver if he's DHing, then I don't see an opportunity for him to come in and give you a good at-bat anyways.
All right, so maybe that's who gets left off, and you bring up Samad Taylor to run. And then again, in that situation, if there's an injury and you need Cole Young, he's obviously the first guy you yank up. But, okay, so then maybe it's Samad Taylor. We just haven't seen. You got to remember, this roster's going back to 26 players, and we didn't see Samad Taylor all of September. I figured at some point in time, we may have seen him up in the last couple months if they were planning to use him, at least in September. I'm all for Samad Taylor coming up and running the bases because he's fast as hell. But by not seeing him, it almost makes me think that they plan to move forward without him as being a forefront part of their plans.
This is where the postseason is different, though. They technically have base stealers, but they don't have anyone besides Julio who's as fast as he is. So in a postseason appearance, if, let's say again, Mitch Garver reaches in a game in, say, the 7th inning against Tarek Skubal, who's running for him? You could have Mastro run for him.
I'm all for Samad Taylor getting a chance. I'm just sitting here wondering if the Mariners are going to deploy him on the roster because we haven't heard a peep out of him.
And that's a fair point. I do see a scenario, given the playoff games are played differently than the regular season is, where you could see that. So we'll see. It very much helps the Mariners that they're going to essentially play a pitcher down in some of these series because of the all-hands-on-deck nature of this. All 5 starters on any given day, 4 of the starters on any given day are going to be available. The only guys pitching who are not available during the postseason are the guys who started the day before. That's it. Unless you get to Game 7, in which case that guy is also available.
You mean to bring him out of the bullpen if you need him late?
Right.
Sure.
100%. If Logan Gilbert starts Game 1 and Brian Woo's in trouble in Game 3, Logan Gilbert can be first out of the bullpen.
Well, I don't know about all that. He'd be on, 2 days rest?
And?
You might use somebody else.
Unless they want to use Logan Gilbert. That hasn't stopped teams before.
That feels a little unlikely. I don't know if they get that extreme with it, but...
Maybe not in Game 3, but in Game 5. If your season's about to end.
In Game 5, yeah. I guess Logan Gilbert would also start Game 5. I'm just more thinking about how George Kirby came out of the bullpen for an inning against the Blue Jays. Something like that. That I could see. I would be a little surprised if somebody on 2 days rest was coming out of the bullpen if somebody's quote-unquote in trouble in the postseason, when you have a whole bullpen of guys and you have long relievers back there, including Bryce Miller. That feels like it would be a little extreme.
Outside of an elimination game, which in an elimination game, if you lose, you're done, so doesn't hurt you to pitch someone else.
Oh, again. Elimination game, all hands are on deck. But in Game 3, like you're referencing, I don't know if you'd see Logan Gilbert all of a sudden come out of the pen 2 days later, 3 days later.
I'd say the other story from today, speaking of starters, is a little bit more of an update about Brian Wu. So Jerry said Brian Wu feels fine. There are 2 things to note, though, with Brian Wu. He is not thrown off a mound yet since he exited that Houston game, and he has not faced live hitters. Now, the Mariners will have 2 live scrimmages this week that are open to the fans if you want to go watch them on Wednesday and Thursday. I would imagine Brian Wu's going to throw in one of those. I'd be shocked if he doesn't, because he's got to see some live hitters here before he jumps into this game. And I will also say, Daniel Kramer reported that I guess he was thinking that Brian Wu would be available at earliest in Game 3 of the DS, which would be the first game on the road on that Tuesday.
He could also just show up to the ballpark on Tuesday and throw a bullpen and then throw on Sunday. Because then he'd be on his normal 4 days rest. And they keep talking about how Wu's trying to operate on his normal 5-day routine. So could he throw in the scrimmage? Sure. But if they want him to start in Game 2 and he feels good enough to, he could just show up on Tuesday and throw a bullpen and then be set for Game 2. Again, he's missed one start. I don't think it's imperative that he has to see live hitters before a playoff game. It's not like he's missed 5 weeks.
The Mariners said they're trying to emphasize and simulate an environment as much as possible. I think it'd be good if he throws in that scrimmage because other guys are going to throw.
Well, they're trying to simulate it, but if you want your best pitchers pitching as early as possible in the postseason, then you would have him show up on Tuesday and throw a bullpen. Again, he's missed one start through the rotation. But it's not like he's making up for 2 months of lost time.
If he throws on Wednesday, that's normal rest.
Well, then
into Tuesday.
Well, then he'd pitch Game 3 because if he throws Wednesday, well, it depends on how many pitches he'd throw on Wednesday. Maybe in that scenario, he'd still turn around and pitch in Game 2 on Saturday, but if he's trying to operate on a 5-day routine, I figured he could just show up on Tuesday and throw a pen.
Kramer wrote in his article on MLB.com that he thought that Wu would start at earliest Game 3. Because Jerry also, during his session with the media, was emphasizing how much he likes Logan Kirby and Luis Castillo pitching at home.
So that's the other side to this, is if Brian Wu's not going to start Game 1 due to this injury, which it seems like he's not because operating on this normal routine that he's talking about, he wouldn't be slated to pitch in Game 1. It's probably going to be Logan Gilbert. But in that scenario, because in a 5-game series, the only guy that could even throw twice would be the guy that starts Game 1, which would be Logan. Then you're picking Brian Wu to start in one game. And if you're going to start him in one game, no matter what, and you know you're going to play a Game 3 no matter what, which you are, then yeah, maybe it makes the most sense to start him on the road because we know that Brian Wu is the one guy who seems to not have major issues pitching away from T-Mobile Park this year. The other guys have struggled with it. So if you were going to go with Gilbert in Game 1 and then either Luis Castillo or George Kirby in Game 2, both of which have pitched pretty well at home, that may set you up best for success. And then if you win the ALDS, then Wu's perfectly set up to throw twice in the ALCS.
And I'm totally okay with him pitching Game 3. Like you said, if he's not available for Game 1, it doesn't matter as much, and you'd rather him pitch in a game that you know you're going to pitch in anyway. I didn't want them, in a strategy sense, pitching Brian Wu because I wanted them pitching him because they wanted to, not because they had to. Like, we have to pitch him on the road because our other pitchers stink on the road. I'd be like, no, you want to start Brian Wu in this case because you think it makes the most sense. And if he's not going to be available for Game 1, then yeah, let's start him Game 3. Whatever is going to make him feel fine, I think, is the most important thing. I want him healthy. I want him to be able to go out there and throw 6 innings in Game 3 if they need him to. Because I trust him to throw 6 innings in the playoffs more than I trust any of these other guys in the starting rotation this year. While they've had their peaks, they've also had their valleys where they are inefficient and unable to get through 6. And that's going to be important. Sometimes there are going to be games in this postseason where your starters wear down your bullpen because let's say Logan Gilbert gives up three runs in 2 2/3 and there's 2 on and 2 out in that third inning. Like, do you go to the bullpen there? And then all of a sudden your bullpen's tired the entire series.
Well, in that scenario, you'd probably go to somebody to get you out of that inning, and then you'd have Bryce Miller or Emerson Hancock come in.
Mm-hmm. But that's not what you want because then you burn Bryce for Game 2. And what if you want Bryce in Game 2 as well?
Mm-hmm. Playoffs are tough, man. Playoffs get real streaky real fast. If a starter starts to struggle in the postseason, guys usually have quick hooks.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We're going to see how this gets operated, which, speaking of that, who starts Game 2 now? Is it Luis or is it Kirby? Because it's going to be a pivotal game if Logan's going to be Game 1 and Wu, hypothetically, here is Game 3.
If I'm going to guarantee a start to one guy, I'm guaranteeing it to Kirby. Like, guarantee. Like, we need you to start a game. I do Kirby.
I think that's where I lean too. But each guy has their case. I would probably start Luis game 4. I'm with you. Especially the way Kirby's trended as of late. Which, by the way, if you want another series takeaway, this was a storyline that was lost this weekend because it was games that didn't really matter. Did you read about how he all of a sudden started picking up Brian Woo's 2-seam grip and now he's throwing it? Well, all of a sudden, George Kirby, using Brian Woo's 2-seam grip, struck out 14 guys, and then that was in his second to last start of the year. In his second to last start of the year, he struck out 14 guys using that grip. And then in his final outing, he struck out 10. I know it's a small sample, but after all this time, did George Kirby potentially finally find that out pitch?
Let's give it 30 starts.
I care about October. For October, has he found his out pitch?
I can't say so yet. But if he did, then I'm going to be very happy that he did find it, I'll say. And Brian Woo's sinker isn't even an out pitch. It just helps you manage throwing in the strike zone. It means you can throw pitches down the middle that guys won't always hit, which in George Kirby's case is very important because he throws a lot of pitches in the strike zone, and the problem too often is that he gets hit. But if he has a pitch that allows him not to get hit as much, then that's great. But I would like to see more than 3 starts. I think 3 was the total. It was the Angels start, the Astros start, and now the Dodgers start.
Part of it may depend on who they play, too. Both teams have their share of left-handed hitters and have a decent amount of them in the Tigers and the Guardians. The Guardians really have a lot of left-handed hitters. And even though that's a worse offense, Luis has really gotten crushed by lefties the last couple years. So does any of it hinge on that? If it's the Tigers, do you start Luis? And if it's the Guardians, do you start Kirby?
No. I'd start Kirby no matter what. I'm trying to win game 2. And I think Kirby gives you a better chance at winning game 2 than Luis does.
I'm with you. I'm just trying to think about how the Mariners may play this. And again, that is the case with Luis. He has struggled against lefties.
As they're going to operate, I would worry about game 4 when you get to game 4.
That's probably right. If it's up to me, I'm going with Kirby too. I'm just trying to present some cases for why they may pick to go with Castillo. The other one is just the postseason experience, although Kirby now has it too. His one postseason start, he was as good as anybody could possibly be when he went 7 shutout against the Astros.
And the other thing you could say for Luis is, hey, maybe he's peaking at the right time during this stretch that the Mariners went out and won this division. Luis Castillo is their best pitcher.
Although Kirby's playing pretty well right now too. He's pitching pretty well right now too, is what I would say. That was not English. Kirby is pitching pretty well right now too. They're both peaking at the right time.
I could say not a bad option, but I still would prefer having Luis Castillo. Yeah, okay, there's some matchup things in there too, but with the starter in the postseason, you want 5 innings. It's like, can you get me through the lineup twice? Which guy do I trust to get me through the lineup twice against these two teams, which each have their share of flaws? That'll be George Kirby.
That is the other thing that I will be watching very closely. Is speaking of having quick hooks in the postseason, how long are they going to let these guys go? We have talked about ad nauseum now the problems that Logan Gilbert and George Kirby have had this year going through the order a third time. If it was up to me and you're just going by the numbers, when you get to that third time in the lineup, I would essentially give them the leeway of one hitter if they're pitching really well. And I know this is the Kevin Cash, Blake Snell method, which a lot of people didn't like. But if those guys are cruising, I'd give them a batter, maybe 2. But if they run into any trouble the third time through the order, it's going to be a quick hook and you're going to your bullpen, even if it's only been 5 innings. Now, if it's been a rocky 5 where they've powered through and kept you in the game, then I'd just take them out after 5 immediately, or AKA when the third time of the lineup's coming to the plate. But even if they're dealing, I don't think I'm stretching this out more than a batter or so, because there's empirical, there's data in front of us that shows what what has and has not gone wrong when they face the lineup a third time. And for those two, it's had its issues.
For me, it's lineup dependent. If if there are no runners on, one out, and say like the 6th inning and the Guardians lineup flips over, where it's Quan leading off and J-Ram bats second, right? Yeah, J-Ram batting second.
I think often he bats third.
So then what would it be? Brian Rocchio?
Something like that.
Daniel Schneemann? Guys that are going to be in my postseason nightmares probably. Like if Logan Gilbert is like one out, bases empty against those two, I'm still leaving him in the game. I'm not pulling him out for that. If there's a base runner, maybe I'll have someone hot. But if there's a base runner, then obviously then you think about it.
Again, though, hasn't history shown in 2025 what happens the third time through an order with those guys, though? The postseason feels like the wrong time to be messing around with that.
It's not even messing around. There's no one on base.
I know. And again, this is the Kevin Cash, Blake Snell method that I'm going with here. But it is using your strengths to your advantage.
Would your first option be going to Brash, or is it as soon as Logan's done, we get Bryce Miller for one time through the order?
Yeah, that's an interesting method. I feel like you just go to the 4 in your bullpen, Bizzardo, Brash, Spire, Munoz, but the Bryce Miller factor here will end up being a key element, because if you think he can give you an additional 2 if Logan's done with 5, then sure, that makes things pretty unique.
It depends when they get knocked out of the game. If it's 6th inning, then yeah, I think the 4 will get you through the end of the game, 100%. If it's if they've gone through the order twice and it's the 4th inning, then something has gone drastically wrong, and they probably should get pulled before then anyways, before you get all the way through the order twice. This will be an interesting thing to look at as the Mariners get into the DS, and how they're going to handle something like this. I feel like we'll know pretty quickly, or maybe we won't, because maybe the guys won't be efficient enough to get through 2 times through the order. They haven't always been, and these, especially if you're playing the Guardians. I mean, the Guardians have just been the most pesky team of all time to just drive up pitch counts and just piss me off. Just piss me the fuck off.
So again, I'll put this on record. And if I'm wrong about it, and these guys prove me wrong, and they go out and deal for 7 innings and absolutely dominate, then great. I will happily be wrong. But I'm putting it out on record. I would not mess around the 3rd time through the order. With those 2 guys especially, but in general, I would be very careful with that. Wu is the one guy who, again, hasn't really had problems with that the 3rd time through. Luis has been okay the 3rd time through too, but Wu especially has been good. I would not be messing around with that with George Kirby and Luis and Logan Gilbert. I would be very ready to have your next options ready to go after 2 times through. I'll even read you the number again, just so people like have it in their heads about what's happened the 3rd time through in order. Logan Gilbert this year, the 3rd time through in order, it's actually come down as of late, so maybe that plays a factor into this. But it is still an 800 OPS he's given up the 3rd time through the order this year.
We got a couple more things to talk about, including who we would rather the Mariners play in the next round of the playoffs. Before that, let's hear a word from our friends at Slim Goody Sports Bar. You know that feeling when the game's on, the beer's cold, and everyone's on the edge of their seat? Yeah, that's the vibe you get at Slim Goody Sports Bar. Located on historic Ballard Ave here in Seattle, this is where Mariners baseball live. Guys, if you need somewhere to watch the playoff game, that would be an excellent spot to do so. They have 23 TVs, they have 2 patios, so you never miss a pitch. Come by and indulge in the $5 ballpark dogs and the $5 Rainiers for every single Mariner game. If you're there for first pitch, you can get in on Tower Hour, which is 100 ounces of Rainier for just $34. Big crew, solo seat, it doesn't matter. The energy's here. Come for the game, stay for the vibe, and don't miss the Seattle Sports Card Wall, a shrine to the city, one legend at a time. Slim Goody Sports Bar, Seattle's Ball Game HQ.
Last quick thing here, and then we can move on to our next topic. So Logan's OPS the 3rd time through the order has come down. Kirby's really hasn't. Kirby's is still at a 930 OPS the 3rd time through. So maybe Logan will get a little more leeway for how he's pitched as of late. It has been more of the same with Kirby.
Managers, they just might not let any of them go 3 times through. Maybe just Wu. Like that's just how managers operate in the postseason. Like straight up. Like just time for the bullpen to go in.
Well, a lot of times, yes. Is Dan Wilson going to do that?
I think so. I think there are enough people in and around who understand the enormity of these games. Like, you have to win. You're playing to win every single game. There's no saving guys. There's the main reason, Lyle, the starters pitch so much during the season is to save up for the 162. But you're not saving up for 162 in the postseason. You're saving up for 3 games.
I know. Believe me, I know. Well, really, I don't know because no Mariners fans have watched many postseason games in their lives. But from watching enough postseason baseball over the years, I know that is often how things are operated. I've just worried all year, we've talked about it, that I hope one of those in-game decisions does not absolutely bite them in the backside come October, and I hope that is the case. You are right that I'm sure these conversations are going to be very much had all this week about how they're going to deploy things in the postseason between coaching staff and front office, because it is a joint effort. There is going to be conversations about what length guys are given, who to go to in what situations out of the bullpen, a lot of different scenarios. I hope they do the right thing. Let's put it like that.
Like, remember the Robbie Ray, Yordan Alvarez thing. Everyone knows that. The Mariners had that decision made that Robbie Ray was going to pitch in that scenario probably the week before.
Right. And for context for people who I know hated that decision and thought it was dumb, and I know the execution of it was awful, but what came out about that is Robbie Ray, when throwing sliders to lefties, had an .027 batting average against. I believe I have that number right. And lefties didn't hit his slider. That was the idea. You're going to face the most dangerous left-handed hitter in baseball. Put the guy in that neutralizes lefties when he's throwing his breaking balls. The problem is Robbie Ray left a fastball as middle as you can leave it, and Yordan sent it to the next county. But you're right that decision was made probably well in advance. At the very least, before that game started. So yes, these decisions are very, very much talked through. I hope that the right ones are executed in the postseason, no matter what they may be. What I'm saying here on this podcast is my own opinion. The Mariners may have a different opinion or a different mindset for how they want to use their guys. I hope when it's all said and done, it's the right one.
Let's talk about the other conversation that is on everybody's minds now that we have the playoff bracket in front of us. Starting in the Mariners quadrant, would you rather play the Guardians or the Tigers? In case you didn't see it, the Guardians end up clinching the American League Central today on Sunday. They're the number 3 seed. The Tigers are now the number 6 seed, the final wildcard team.
Which is, I think, best case scenario for the Mariners. I was hoping they were going to avoid all the AL East teams. I was hoping they'd get a crack at the AL Central because those rosters are more flawed, in my opinion. I think the Mariners are set up pretty nicely here. This should be a series, no matter what, that they're favored in and that they can absolutely win. But I'm taking the Guardians. If I have to pick between the two, I would rather play Cleveland. Because the roster, especially the offense, is just not as good, and they don't have a Tarek Skubal in that rotation. I know the Guardians have pitched really well, but you're talking about a team that, despite being as hot as anybody over the last month, traded away Shane Bieber, their best arm when healthy. Don't have Emmanuel Clase anymore because he was too worried about his own parlays than winning baseball games. And they have one batter in the... Oh, that made people laugh. You know I'm right.
It wasn't even a parlay. It was just one of the dumbest bets ever in a sports book. First pitch, ball or strike.
Oh, I'm sorry. A prop bet. My bad. A prop bet.
Oh.
So Emmanuel Clase was more worried about his own prop bets than winning baseball games. He will not be pitching. So when you look at this Guardians team, it has an offense that has one real bat, one in Jose Ramirez, who I would honestly consider just putting on first base just about every time he's up, because I'm serious when I say there is no other offense in that lineup. Kyle Manzardo's been good enough. He's their second best bat. He's 9% better than league average this year. Every other guy has been a well below average hitter this season. Even Steven Kwan, for as good a player as he's been in his career, has not had a good offensive year. And when I look at that up and down, no Clase, no Bieber, an offense that's really, really struggled to muster up offense, I'd rather play Cleveland. I do not want to face Tarek Skubal twice in 5 games.
But you'd rather face an elite pitching staff 5 times.
I just don't trust that they're going to step up.
Because that's what their staff is. It's elite.
Is it elite?
Yeah, they were 4th in ERA in the whole league this year. They have an ERA in the month of September half a run lower than the next closest team. But you're totally right about their offense. Their offense blows. It's awful. But that pitching staff is the best unit combined that either of these two teams have. Here's the question you need to answer for yourself. Would you rather face an elite individual or an elite unit? Because that's what we're debating here.
I mean, you get past Gavin Williams, who's their ace, and you've got Tanner Bybee with a 4.24 ERA. His ERA plus is below league average. Then you get to Logan Allen with a 4.14 ERA. His FIP's in the 4.4s. Slade Ciccone has a 4.3. This is not some elite rotation. Maybe all combined, the production's been good, but you are going to be facing individuals in these playoff games. And when you get past Gavin Williams, who, by the way, none of these starters have a long history of a track record in the postseason. They're going to be pretty fresh to this like the Mariners guys are. You get past Gavin Williams, I'm not that scared by any of their other pitchers. Again, Tanner Bybee, great dude. Fan of the guy. But if you're just talking about the results he's put on the field this year, it's been a little bit of a disappointing year for him. And then after those two, who's going after him? Again, is it Logan Allen? Is it Slade Ciccone? I just don't look at that rotation and see it the same way as you'd have to face Casey Mize and Jack Flaherty, even after you'd face Skubal.
But the difference with the Tigers aren't elite at anything. They're not.
Actually, sorry, maybe you'd face Reese Olson. He's on, what am I saying? He's on the IL. He's not going to pitch. But yeah, it'd probably be Jack Flaherty after Skubal and then Mize. I think that is a tougher matchup to go against than the Guardians.
The Tigers, top to bottom, have a middle-of-the-pack pitching staff and a middle third offense. The Guardians have a top 4 pitching staff and a bottom 3 offense. That's what we're debating here.
I think
you can either get middle of both or extremes.
I think you're looking at this more on a large sample size and what they've done over the course of a season rather than a 5-game series when you have to face individual guys. I would rather face the individuals in that starting rotation and the individuals in that offense for Cleveland than going against Tarik Skubal twice, Casey Mize, who's been, not elite, but good, and then an offense where you've got Riley Green in there. You've got Spencer Torkelson, who's a 30-homer guy in there. There's guys in that lineup that hit. Zach McKinstry was an all-star rather than Cleveland.
I still like the odds better with the Tigers. I just don't think the Tigers are as good. That's honestly what it comes down to.
Oh, sorry.
The Tigers are not as good of a baseball team as the Guardians are. And they showed that this season.
Well, I also didn't throw Kerry Carpenter into that lineup, which for some reason I didn't originally, and I should have, because the Mariners are going to throw nothing but righties at the Tigers.
And yet, despite all of those names, the Tigers folded like a deck of cards here in the second half and let the Guardians storm all the way back. This talentless Cleveland Guardians team storms back and takes over all the mighty Tigers.
Things can change very quick in a 3-game wildcard series.
Thankfully, the Mariners don't have to worry about a wild card series. They get 5 games.
Well, I'm talking about the 2 teams that are going to go up against each other in a 3-game. And if it's Detroit that comes out of it, I won't be surprised. Because, again, you're talking about winning 2 games. For as bad as the Tigers have played in the final month of the year, for as awful, bad doesn't even describe it, for as atrocious as they have played in the final month of the year, they win 2 or 3 games one time against a team they've seen a ton, and they're coming out of it. And in that situation, I would not be interested in having to see Skubal twice. Actually, hang on a sec here.
Skubal's going to pitch game 1 of the wild card series.
I was actually, you know what? Now that we're sitting here talking through this, maybe he won't pitch twice in a DS because he's going to have to throw game 1 in the wild card series. He may not be on schedule to throw twice.
They'll pitch him on short rest.
Okay, then he's going to throw twice. Yeah, I don't want to face Skubal twice. Also, the fact the Mariners have beat him 2 times feels a little ominous. What are you going to do? Beat him 4 times? Feels unlikely.
You know who else beat Tarik Skubal? The Guardians.
Well, did they beat him 4 times in 1 year?
I don't know, but they certainly beat the crap out of the Tigers this year. Guardians have been playing playoff games since the month started, and all they've done is win. I don't want to play that team. They win games.
They have a better bullpen than the Tigers. I'll give them that.
Yeah, I don't want to face a good bullpen in the playoffs. Saying they scrap their way to some lead. No. The Tigers' bullpen, I don't even think is that good. The Tigers' pitching staff, again, after Tarek Skubal, meh. At best, meh.
Yeah. The Tigers really have, 3 good bullpen arms? Will Vest, former Mariner. Will Vest, Brennan Hanafy, and Brant Herter. Those are probably their 3 really good bullpen arms.
Brant Herter, jeez.
I mean, he's been really good.
Wow. I watched Brant Herter. He was on my Cape League team. Did not think he'd be a great big league bullpen arm, but hey, shout out to him. That's great.
I mean, they have some other guys. They have, Tyler Holton's in that bullpen. Tommy Canley's in that bullpen. Old friend Paul Sewald's in that bullpen. But
Sewald's not been good, though.
No, and Canley's been okay. Holton's been okay. The Guardians bullpen, though, even without Class A, obviously you get Cade Smith, you get Jacob Junis, who's been really good, Hunter Gaddis has been really good. There's guys in that bullpen.
I can see your argument for the Guardians, but I think the Tigers are a worse team, and even if they have the best player, I'd rather face the worst team. Because guess what? Tarek Skubal can't pitch every game. And just because he does throw, doesn't mean the Tigers are winning. It doesn't.
I would not want to take my chances. I think it's a more talented team on paper. Again, I know Javi Baez has struggled in the second half, but you put together a lineup that's got Glaber in it, that's got Riley Green in it, that's got Kerry Carpenter in it, that's got Torque in it, that's got Dylan Dingler in it, who, by the way, has been a 3-win catcher this year. It's a lot different than the Guardians. And again, outside of Gavin Williams, it is a starting rotation for the Guardians that does not strike fear into opponents' eyes.
So we've debated who we'd rather face. Who do we think wins? It's a good one.
I feel like, by the way things are trending, it's the Guardians.
And then we would most likely get a Guardians-Mariners DS.
Right. That's our prediction. Now, on Friday's podcast, we will dive into all of it, because by then it'll be all wrapped up. We're going to wait for that series to be done before we record Friday's podcast, because we're going to preview it all.
I was going to say, they'll have to... Thankfully, they get the 10 a.m. slot, so that will be very much done by the time we record on Thursday.
Yeah. We got a good schedule coming up for the podcast this week. I know we were a little worried about, and we were saying to the people, what are we going to talk about all week, while we wait for the Mariners to play a playoff game? Well, it's going to be fun. We've got this episode today. Friday, we're going to do a full series preview and playoff roster preview ahead of the series starting on Saturday. And Wednesday, Tej, who better to have on to talk about the upcoming Mariners playoff run than Goldie himself, than Aaron Goldsmith?
Voice of the Mariners.
Is there a better person we could have on for this week than Goldie? I don't know.
In terms of capturing everything that has happened to this season and what it has taken to get to this point, no, he's been there throughout the entire thing. Like, he has insights and knowledge that not everyone else gets, because he's a team employee. So It's great. And Goldie's big friend of the pod, always awesome to us. It's going to be very exciting to talk to him on Wednesday. I guess any other things you want to note about this playoff bracket that's come out? The AL East side, on the other side, I'm very glad the Mariners are not in that. I said in our reaction that I released here on Sunday evening, that you could make a case that 3 of the 4 best teams in the American League are on that side of the bracket.
Is there any timetable on Roman Anthony yet? I don't think there is.
He's down in Florida now?
That's the latest update as of this afternoon, which maybe that means he's trying to ramp up baseball activity.
But when was the last time he saw a pitch? Is he going to go cold turkey back into the lineup?
That's essentially what the Cubs did with Kyle Schwarber in 2016. Remember that?
Yeah, it worked out. And he was in the fall league?
Mm-hmm.
So they did get him some at-bats then, and then called him up.
It was just a few. But yeah, they tried to do it very fast and then called him up. It's just that this Red Sox team has been so much different without Roman Anthony in it, and not in a good way. They have missed him dearly. So I'm sure if the Red Sox think they have the chance to activate him, they're going to.
The Yankees have been playing well. Judge has been playing well, so they have that for them. The Blue Jays played a phenomenal final series. Alejandro Kirk with a couple of home runs here on Sunday to win them the American League East. The two teams with the two best records are on that side of the bracket, not the Mariners. Yankees and Blue Jays are the two teams with the two best records in this league, and yet they're on the same side of the bracket, which I'm not going to complain about. If all the most talented teams want to be over there, and the Mariners get to face Daniel Schneemann, Brian Rocchio, and name your other favorite random Cleveland Guardian whose lineup this year is an 87 WRC plus as a team. Feel free to name them.
Angel Martinez, Nolan Jones. Yeah. See, and you said you want to play the Tigers.
Well, then I didn't even mention the fact that the Tigers WRC plus in the month of September is probably lower than 87.
Well, perhaps.
And that's kind of what matters now.
Again, this is the path for the Mariners this year. Not only is this the most talented roster they've had in 25 years, but now you're set up with a first-round bye and getting the American League Central in the DS in a very weak American League. This is as well cut out as you can draw it up for a postseason field if you're the Mariners. That was not the case in 2022. You get into the wildcard team, you have to play a very good Blue Jays team, and then you get the Astros. And that Astros team was a juggernaut. This year, there is no team like that. In baseball, there is no team like the 2022 Astros in baseball this year, and sure as hell not in the American League. This is everything the Mariners could have hoped for and more. I hope they really go out and just take it.
Do you have anything to note from the National League?
The Mets are
the Mets
done.
In classic, Frank was right. This is how we predicted the season was going to end. Heartless, gutless, feeble, no fight, no care, no heart. Feel so bad for him.
I forgot to tweet it out earlier. I should have taken the part from our clip because he did say back in mid-August when we asked him. I said, so how does all this bode for the rest of the season, Frank? They still getting into the playoffs? No, Mets are not making the playoffs, is what he said. They didn't.
How sad is it? Your team ends the season 67 times. You enter the ninth inning trailing. You don't win a single one of those games. That's how they end. That's how they lost today against the Marlins. Like a not very good Marlins team. I know they played better here in the second half, but overall just not very good. And they go in there. Sean Manaea pitches an inning and 2/3. Edwin Diaz pitched in the fifth inning today because they needed him. And the Mets offense was just fucking lifeless. And Frank destroyed his shirt today on a live stream.
Oh, it was ripped to shreds. He just tore it right to pieces. Now, by the way, you want to hear a tweet that was tweeted out today? Listen to this. Reds. Now, I'm gonna give people a chance to guess. You can hear the audio. That would be Frank getting pissed off at the Reds continuing to win games. Where do you think that tweet came from? You already know, so I'm going to let people sit for about 5 seconds here and just ponder. Bum, 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 bum. All right, I have my answer. That was from the Cincinnati Reds Twitter account. And that tweet has upwards of 3.5 million views.
That's They must have been sitting on that one. Maybe with a week left, they're like, I have an idea.
They said if we make the playoffs, we're doing this.
And the Mets miss. We're tweeting this at Frank.
I mean, that was...
And then Jenks quote tweets it and it's like, oh no one show Frank.
I mean, I hate to validate Frank's words, but lifeless, gutless, you score no runs against the Marlins on the last day of the year.
I'm actually kind of happy the Mets aren't in the playoffs because that means we get more of a real series in LA. Because, the Mets have no starting rotation at all. They would have gotten throttled in this playoffs because they have no one to match up with any starters. The first series is against the Dodgers. You know what we get tomorrow on Tuesday? We get, I think it's Hunter Green and Yamamoto in game 1.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good. And Hunter Green, by the way, he only threw 107 innings this year. If he threw more, he'd probably be among the 10 best players in baseball. He'd be up there with Crochet and Skubal in terms of production.
Yeah, and then the Reds will probably counter with Andrew Abbott in game 2, who's also been very good. The Reds have real starters.
Yeah. So, like, that's a good series. I'm not going to complain about that. Way better than the Mets throwing, what? Whatever they were going to start. Someone who would get pulled after 2 innings.
It was probably going to be a lot of their young guys. Jonah Tong, Brandon Sproat, who could be really good in the long run, but they have not had a lot of big league experience.
No. Still a potential, Lyle. It is official that we will get a chance at a Vetter Cup World Series.
And you know why? All because the Mariners hoisted the fucking Vetter Cup trophy. Like, paraded around, actually hang it up in the rafters while you play that World Series.
If the Padres win the World Series, they might just, like, snap the Vetter Cup trophy in half at a celebration. Like, see?
Good. Snap the trophy that doesn't matter and hoist the one that does. Vetter Cup.
The last thing I want to note for this episode before I wrap up, people were asking us, when is the start time going to be on Saturday? When's it going to be? When's it going to be? When's it going to be? I have a prediction somewhat. I think the Mariners are going to get the same time slot that they got the last time they made the postseason against the Astros in 2022. Take a look at this wild card schedule. I'll read it out for everybody and listen to these start times. And I think this is very telling when it comes to when the Mariners might play. Detroit and Cleveland, the least desirable television matchup of all of them, play at 10 o'clock Pacific, a.m. in the morning on Tuesday. Then we get the Padres and Cubs, the next most glamorous matchup at noon Pacific time. Then you have the Yankees and Red Sox in prime time. And then to close it out, you have the West Coast powerhouse and Dodgers playing last. What is that going to lead to for the division series? So the winner of the Guardians and Tigers are going to play the Mariners. The winner of the Cubs and Padres is going to play the Brewers. The winners of the Yankees and Red Sox are going to play the Blue Jays. And the winners of the Reds and Dodgers are going to play the Phillies. If the Dodgers win against the Reds and they play the Phillies, that's your 6 o'clock game for the Dodgers audience. And the Japan audience, by the way. That's your game there. It doesn't matter who wins between the Red Sox or Yankees. They're going to play at 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. No matter what. That's the highest grossing matchup you ever have. The 2 biggest franchises of baseball or Canada. So that leaves you with either the 10 a.m. slot or the noon slot. And I don't think the Mariners are going to be forced to play at 10 a.m. because they play in the Pacific time zone. So that is going to put Mariners and either Tigers or Guardians at noon Pacific.
Well, what if the Padres win? Oh, but they'd start in Milwaukee, so it doesn't matter.
See, that's a tricky one. But the Mariners are less... Well, I guess in that case, maybe the Mariners would be at 10 a.m. because the Mariners are less of a draw than the Padres are.
But again, time slot, Milwaukee would be in Central Time. That feels like a 12 o'clock start there, 10 a.m. on the West Coast. That would make a lot more sense. You cannot make a West Coast team play a game at 10 o'clock in the morning. No, there will be a protest.
I think one of them will, no matter what, if the Padres win. No, the Cubs win, it's a lot easier of a decision.
But the Padres don't start that series in San Diego. They would start in Milwaukee. That's what I'm saying. So the Mariners would start that series in Seattle and then would go to the Central Time Zone. Maybe when those 2 teams travel, it gets flipped, where then in games 3 and 4, when the Padres are in San Diego and the Mariners are in either Detroit or Cleveland, it gets flipped. But for the first 2 games, no, you can't make a West Coast team play at 10 o'clock in the morning.
This time slotting only applies for the days where there are 4 games played, which I believe there are 3 of them. I'm going to say, I think it's Saturday, Tuesday, and Friday, I think.
Okay. Regardless, you can't make a West Coast team play at 10 a.m. That's not happening.
No. So if you're curious about that first one on Saturday, that's going to be, I think that's going to be a noon first pitch. I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Actually, no, sorry. There are only 2 days where there are 4 games. So those are the 2 days where the Mariners would have to worry about that. That's what I'd pay attention to. I don't know how they'd flip that on Sunday. Maybe, actually, you know what? I think they would stay playing early on Sunday, too, because you're not going up against Sunday Night Football. So I think that's what they do.
But they may have to move the time of the Seahawks game. They've talked about that.
Yeah. Good problem to have, by the way.
Very
Not
good.
something we've had to worry about all that often. That would have been an issue in 2022, but Mariners got bounced before the Seahawks played.
That was going to be a thing the next day after the 18-inning game if the Mariners had won about is somebody going to have to move their game back. But since that didn't happen and the Mariners lost in 3 games, Seahawks didn't have to move their game. This year it's going to be a real thing, though.
Right.
So
we'll see. But book it. Noon Pacific time, Saturday, October 4th. Game
likely.
on.
I mean, we don't know for sure, but likely.
Well, I'm stamping it, Lyle. That's my prediction.
No. Just like I'm stamping that some of these starters are only going 2 times through, or should only go 2 times through.
I guess we'll find out. Saturday will be very telling.
It will. Man, I forgot to add Nick Lodolo into that Reds-Dodgers series. That's going to be a really interesting series. The Dodgers should win, but those are 3 legit starters they have to go up against. Green, Abbott, Lodolo.
Problem for the Reds is that the Dodgers arguably have the best rotation in baseball.
Well, that's the other side of this, is you're going to get Yamamoto, Shohei, Glasnow, Blake Snell, however you want to draw it up. But yeah.
Yeah.
So.
It's tough cooking for the Reds, but we'll see.
I know.
We'll see. Maybe a right fielder Noel V. Marte can be a hero.
Oh my God.
Did you see Rob to home run the other day?
Yeah, of course I did. That was it. That was late in the game, too. It was a ridiculous catch. Man, we're going to watch him in the postseason. How about that?
It's full circle moment for how's Jesse Winker doing?
He's barely played this year, but he's on the Mets, who are not in the playoffs, and Frank melted down.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And that's the wrong trade anyways, because Luis Castillo will be pitching in the playoffs, that's for sure.
Yeah, yes he will. Man, I'm ready. I know it's only Monday, but I'm ready. Like I said, we got Goldie on Wednesday. We'll do a full series preview and roster preview on Friday, and then we'll get going come Saturday, come playoff time, which again, we'll remind you throughout the week, but we're going to be doing episodes after every game. So we'll be talking about every game throughout the postseason, so make sure to stay tuned for that. All right, that just about wraps up this edition of the Marine Layer Podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to listen to the full-form podcast, you can do so wherever you get your audio pods. Make sure if you're listening, you're downloading these episodes and you're leaving those 5-star reviews. It really does help if you do. The best way you can support if you're watching on the video side of things on YouTube is to go hit subscribe. Just take a second to do it. Leave a like, drop a comment, and then you can find everything else across our website, from our merch, which we hope you go buy ahead of the playoffs, to Patreon, to our live show schedule. It's all over at marinelayerpod.com, and you can find us across social media everywhere at Marine Layer Pod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.